Releasing on Tuesday, September 15th in Pokemon TCG Live and a day later physically, 30th Celebration is one of the weirdest sets ever created. As you peruse all 128 cards in the main set, you may notice some things missing, sort of like how I can make somebody's toes disappear with my mouth. If you need a hint, it starts with Vivillon. Yeah, an obscene number of Pokemon in 30th Celebration either don't evolve when they can, or their pre-evolutions are missing entirely. For somebody like Maushold, there's only one Tandemaus in Standard. When that rotates in March, if we don't get a new one, it'll be a dead mouse. Gengar and Greninja don't have to worry since they've been printed several times, but if you pull a Slowpoke and are wondering where the Slowbro or Slowking are, well, they're well hidden in another set. Something else you'll quickly realize is there aren't any new Mega Pokemon. However, there are a dozen regular EXs scattered throughout the set. And at the tail end of 30th Celebration, there's only 3 trainers, which are just clay hollow versions of Ultra Ball, Pokepad, and Switch. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. There are 30 Pikachu in 30th Celebration. Remember that you're guaranteed one in each pack. So if a dude behind Target in a trench coat offers to sell you one for $69, yell stranger danger and kick him in the Pokeballs. The Pikachu will not keep their value, especially if the set is overprinted. I know a lot of these cards are in low resolution, screen capped from all those early openings on TikTok and whatnot, confirming the full set list. Rather than holding back on posting this video for weeks, hoping the Pokemon Company blows their entire load early instead of waiting until launch day to give us high quality images, I decided to take matters into my own feet. I mean, clearer text isn't going to change what the cards do. So like when you need text support for your audiobook, I called an Audible. Basically, all of this is a long-winded way of saying that while all 128 cards are present, only a few can be read without pinching to zoom in on your screen. Don't worry though. When I get to my in-depth expert review of each card in a minute, I'll use the promo or full art when possible. If I rush through the full set list, double tap the screen with your favorite toe to go back and pause. Because like the All-American rejects, we're moving along. Normally I'd start the buyer's guide section with game-changing trainers. Well, there aren't any new trainers. While you're probably clenching your butt cheeks hoping scalpers don't realize how highly playable Ultra Ball and Pokepad are so you can add them to your decks for cheap, just remember that shiny doesn't equal better. But without owning these, how else will you show dominance to the kids at your local league? Elsewhere, there's 12 Pokemon EX in 30th Celebration, and easily the best is Mew. You'll probably only want one copy though. Its ability, Memory Helix, allows you to copy the attack of any of your bench Pokemon provided you have the correct energy. At just 160 hit points though, it's not surviving a meaningful hit. So you realistically just want a single Mew EX in your Mega Deck, giving you access to a 2-prizer who can act like a 3-prizer. This means Mew can KO another Lucario with Mega Brave, or Mew copying Resentful Refrain with Clefairy in play only needs them to have 4 cards in hand for a Dragapult KO. So even with a pitiful amount of HP, this could completely shake up the game. Another EX to add to your collection is Greninja. No, not this one, or even the Mega. The 30th Celebration one, of course. Because we have so many Greninja in Standard already, 2 of whom are playable, it's highly likely this sees use. For a single water, Stealthy Slash does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon times the number of damage counters on them. Use Mortal Shuriken on, say, a bench Raging Bolt, then follow it up with Stealthy Slash for the KO. Because 180 plus 60 equals 240. Yeah, I know, I'm kind of a math whiz. This Greninja isn't anything crazy, it's just another card to help Mega Greninja win more games. I feel like you have to own one of each Pikachu EX. Baffling even the most veteran of TCG players, Mega Ray was the top deck in Japan for a few days. Zip Zap Frenzy Pikachu offers a way to accelerate all energy from hand into play, boosting Storm Emerald's damage by 50 for each. And Pika Pika Parade Pikachu EX is a precious trolley for any energy. I know Rayquaza's ability only activates when you play it from hand, but being able to grab Fez and Latias and a Terra while also keeping a one-shot attack on Rayquaza in your repertoire is worth the 600 credits. Unless it turns out this deck is a lie. But since when have Japanese players been wrong about a deck? While I've softened my Sylveon stance, it can do things if you hit the nuts. A 3 energy attack cost kinda sucks, but 50 damage times the number of different types of basic energy you have in play does not. There's 8 total, meaning Sylveon has a damage cap of 400. Between Energy Search Pro and Glass Trumpet and Baby Terrapidos and Pikachu EX and even Alolan Exeggutor EX, my toes are dripping wet at the possibilities. As for the other 2 EX evolutions, I'm just not feeling Espeon. It tops out at 180 without Area 0, making it a worse Lily's Clefairy. And if you want any chance against Dragapult, you still need to play Lily's Clefairy. Umbreon, meanwhile, isn't a bad card. Play it with Risty Ruins, Munkidori, and Toxtricity, you can be dealing 240 damage regularly. I just don't think it has the power to overcome Dragapult. And a grass weakness means you get shredded like moo cheese by Festival Lead. But this is what I'm talking about. There's the top 4 EXs in 30th Celebration, the middle 4 with the evolutions and a crocodile who you can win some games with, and the bottom 4 who, well, you'll see. The main issue with Fuecoco EX is that Reshiram exists, and also that we don't have a Quaxly EX. But where Reshiram starts out at 130 damage and gains 50 more for each prize card they have taken, Fuecoco does 70 times the number of prize cards you have taken. So if you're getting beaten off super hard, the best Paldea starter isn't going to do much. That being said, I absolutely see a world where Fuecoco gets thrown into a deck. We just need a really solid Fire Mega to activate Oricorio. I refuse to succumb in my pants to Gengar EX's temptation. Just because I'll probably include it in my Road Decks video doesn't mean you should buy it. If Gengar is knocked out by damage, you flip a coin. If heads, their active is also KO'd. I spent way too long on a Weezing deck with the same mechanic and it went horribly. I don't care that Mega Gengar and Grimsley's move exist. You shall not tempt me, devil! Jirachi EX is not worth owning. If drawing up to X number of cards was good, we'd already be seeing heavy amounts of play from Deoxys, Tapu Koko, and Hitmontop, all of whom have similar hit points yet give up 1 prize, not 2. And Taylor Swift one-shotting Crustle doesn't matter too much when there's so many strong single prize decks cooking the crap. Maybe when Delta Rain is out in November, giving us the playable Komodo, Salamence EX might have some use. Until then, there's just no real targets for Booming Call, which puts 3 dragons from your discard pile directly onto your bench. Dragapult wants Dracloak for card draw, and no sane person should be playing Mega Dragonite. So for now, I imagine this will be as good as Kingdra EX. Last and least, it's honestly hilarious how much worse Mewtwo EX is than Mew EX. 50 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX is underwhelming, especially when several of the most played ones are Terras. And 230 damage for 3 Psychic when you can't even do anything next turn? Yeah, the only good part about this card is Mewtwo's Lara Croft X chest bulges. Moving to the regular Pokemon you should buy in 30th Celebration, number 1 is obviously Unown. Or I guess it's known because I'm showing you. Anyway, get 1 copy immediately. For 2 Psychic, it deals 40 damage, taking an extra prize with a knockout. This is absolutely our way of dealing with Badoo. Yes, it takes a little bit of thinking to power it up with Wondrous Patch ahead of an item lock, but having access to telepathic energy is awesome, and it can even one-shot Dreepy if Clefairy's down. There's a reason why Unown was so high up on my top 10 list. Suddenly, every Dragapult player has to think twice about putting Badoo into play, and every Slowking player has to wonder if smooching you is worth the risk. Then there's Espeon. Like that thing you can give your favorite streamer every month, this seems prime to help out Slowking. Copy Miraculous Shine, all of your opponent's Pokemon are devolved. You would do this after a Kyurem Trifrost, which admittedly isn't as universally useful as Dragapult having a bench barrier and so many single prize decks having less than 110 hit points. But against evolved Mega decks, they have to watch out. Though I just know Dragapult players will use Espeon in math for dastardly deeds, wiping your entire board like it's a butt. Illumise is a common, so get 1 copy. I know there isn't widespread usage for tripling weakness, but with both Illumise and Volbeat in play, all of a sudden Rotom can deal 360 damage with just 4 tools. So you can completely forego Rotom EX, run Counter Dane and Brave Bangle, and curse my name when Dragapult still steamrolls you because the designers thought giving Psychic Rotom 60 hit points was a good idea. Should Mega Lucario weather the Mew EX onslaught, the new baby Lucario will be a helpful one of. Able to one-shot Meowth without any help or Pheasantipity after 1 Gatorade, Lucario hits their active for 100 and spreads 60 to someone on the bench. Yes, you have to set it up with the Megazord jab, but you were probably already giving that energy to Riolu anyway, so why not have access to a potential secondary attacker who only gives up a single prize? I think it's worth owning a copy of Yveltal. Preventing your opponent's active from being healed means no more Jumbo Ice Cream shenanigans in that Mega Kangaskhan Bouffalon deck. Plus, they now have to retreat their Mega in order to use Wallies, which could be slightly annoying. Just remember that Monkey Dory moves damage counters rather than healing, so you'll still need Patrat for that. Then there's Maushold. If you want to build this new mill deck, you'll need 4 copies. There's no Tandem Mouse though, so check your bulk binder for the only one in Standard from Surging Sparks. Maushold flips a coin for each mouse in your house, milling 2 cards for each head. If you're not interested in YOLOing it, run Backtrack Badge for reflips. Then when the time is right, hit them with Neutralization Zone, which protects you against damage from EXs. If they're playing a single prize deck though, well, that's when luck needs to be on your side. There's a lot of Pokemon in 30th Celebration who will have people like me excited to whack off building multiple wacky decks that don't actually win games. And that's what this section is all about. Alolan Exeggutor is at the top of the list, brandishing 400 hit points if it has 3 physical grass energy attached and Meganium in play. That's Coco nuts for a single prizer. and with a Hero's Cape it jumps to 500. The reason I can't truly recommend Exeggutor is that they'll just target your Meganium. Mega Drain only does 150 damage, meaning you're 3-shotting a Dragapult. So while you're barely doing anything, they're KOing Meganium, sending Exeggutor back down to 150 hit points and ruining everything. It'll still be in my Road Dex video though. Tropius' playability depends on how the world looks in 2027. With a Brave Bangle attached, it can deal 150 grass damage if somebody was just knocked out. Should Mega Absol or Mega Darkrai or Garchomp or anything weak to grass rule the format, I could see Tropius helping out. Because in case you've forgotten, Festival Lead and Tealmasked Ogerpon rotate in March. And Cacturne won't help against things without abilities. One of Anator's favorites, Cherrim, is definitely a fringe card. Sure, accelerating 2 energy from deck is decent, especially with access to Forest of Vitality. But we already have other options in things like Delibird and Smeargle and Mega Audino and Smoochum and Terrapados and so much more. Actually, you know what? This card's not useful and I'm regretting putting it here. Both Reshiram and Zekrom are better than I previously pontificated. The main reason, of course, is Mega Rayquaza. Both the black and white legendaries deal 80 base damage plus 80 more if you have the other's energy type on them. Mega Ray just so happens to play both fire and lightning energy. So Reshiram can deal with any grass or metal types who have 320 or less hit points, while the Pokemon that caused Pikachu to lose to a Snivy one-shots Ray. Plus, with access to Emboar and Prism energy, these can slot into a lot of different decks. Since Ray isn't out until November though, these belong in the mid category for now. Kyogre doesn't really belong here, I just think the art is super derpy. With a 4 retreat cost, it has access to Heavy Baton, same as Wailord EX and Baby Wailord. But at 90 base plus 30 for each water attached, you're better off simply pairing the EX with the Baby. Speaking of, Baby Wishy-Washy is the only reason Wishy-Washy EX will have a chance of doing anything come Delta Rain. With 4 down, if they hit on your X, they take 120 damage counters to the face. But at 260 hit points, Wishy-Washy EX's chances of surviving are a little too low for my liking. So Hero's Cape is necessary, same with Misty's Vitality to attack. I don't actually think this will be a thing, but Baby Wishy-Washy at least tries. When Smoochum rotates, Mewtwo could be our new way of accelerating Psychic Energy early. Plus, it's not one-shot by Unown. You just, have to attach an energy and have 2 in the discard pile to fully empower yourself. Speaking of rotation, Mega Chandelure loses access to the Fire-type Chandelure in March, which is honestly one of the main reasons why it works. While it's not particularly sexy to swing from a Chandelier because it'll probably snap and you'll crash on the ground at your crush's birthday and everyone will laugh at you, 130 damage with 30th Celebration Chandelure is at least something. Not much of something when we have Marshadow, but something nonetheless. If the legendary stadiums become meta, which is looking unlikely outside of Iron Thorns and Lucario, then Xerneas could have a place finding 2 stadiums for any energy. Except we'll also have a Rune who is a lot better. Lunala has the same attack as Ceruledge EX, dealing 20 more damage for each energy in your discard pile. What worries me is snakes crawling into my butt after pitching a tent. Also, the deck space. I just don't think 60 cards is enough to create a consistent Lunala list, especially when the Cosmog and Cosmoem aren't pulling their weight, despite Cosmoem weighing 2,000 pounds. I'll definitely build a Lunala list or 2 and feature it in a video, I just won't be over the moon about it. Solgaleo, meanwhile, doesn't seem playable. 220 damage is fine, and powering itself up is cool and all. But requiring 4 energy, losing all of them in the process while also having to evolve from Psychic types doesn't make me want to see the sunrise. A Pimple Popper's favorite Pokemon, Seismitoad, can be annoying. After fisting your opponent, they have to flip a coin whenever they go to play a trainer. If it's Tails, the card fails and is discarded, which I think means they can keep trying to play a supporter until one works. Regardless, if their coin flip luck is good, you lose. And even if it's bad, Seismitoad's only dealing 60 damage a turn in a Munkidori world. Maybe you could try something with Neutralization Zone, hoping they lose all their stadiums, but that seems way too risky. Similar to Tropius, Umbreon's potential depends entirely on how the meta shakes up. If Mew EX sees as much play as the handsomest Pokemon TCG Live YouTuber is predicting, Umbreon dealing 130 damage as a Dark type is kinda overkill. But you should still definitely think about it. Between Maushold, Seismitoad, and Hydreigon, 30th Celebration has a few too many options for annoying players. For a single Darkness, 3-headed Bite flips 3 coins, discarding an energy from their active for each heads. Problem is, way too many decks these days attack for a single energy or have plenty of acceleration. And Blaziken shrugs off any discards with Dragapult. But this could do something at some point in the next 2.5 years, so it's here. In my previous video, I theorized that Galarian Meowth is less an Alakazam partner and more a turn 1 attacker in a metal deck. After all, Treasure Rush only does 10 damage times the number of cards in your feet. Yes, it's a way around Mist Energy, but it requires a metal which Alakazam doesn't want to play. Instead, put a copy in Excadrill and have somebody who can KO a Badoo or Dreepy or something else after Lilies plus a Metallic Signal. If Delta Rain Komodo becomes a thing, which it has a good chance of doing, maybe one copy of 30th Celebration Komodo sneaks in. 250 damage for 3 energy is strong, one-shotting Mega Ray with a Brave Bangle attached. And if you already have to run the Jangmu line, why not have a backup attacker? The reason I left Ditto off the top 10 list is that it requires a coin flip, 2 energy, and whoever you transform into will not only have a weird face, but has to survive a hit. Still, with access to Crispin and Backtrack Badge, it's not impossible. It's just, who are you transforming into? Well, a Mega most likely, but take Gardevoir for example. Why waste 2 energy to turn a Ditto into a Gardevoir waiting a turn to use Overflowing Wishes? Yes, Wallies can heal you, but did Ditto really improve the deck or make it more complicated? If you have any ideas though, post them in the comments, because like a Trevenant that's been chopped down, I'm stumped. Igglybuff is fun to think about, though not exactly playable. For 0 energy, Bouncy Circle does 30 damage times the number of Pokemon on your bench with a maximum of 30 hit points. So you can now create a baby deck, which is a terrible idea since it maxes out at 150 damage or 180 with a Brave Bangle. And Dragapult absolutely destroys you by taking 3 knockouts per turn. I know I'm a little higher on Lugia than I probably should be. 250 damage on a basic single prizer is great, especially for 3 energy when you have access to Glass Trumpet. The issue is that the energy is different types and you lose them all upon attacking. Realistically, it's probably best suited for a Flareon EX deck, where, to be fair, it seems kinda goated. Finally, for this section, Zarina is a memorable Pokemon. And not just because of what she could do to your head if you put it between those thick thighs. Hisui and Zoroark is sorta similar. For an Ignition energy, it leaves your opponents active with 50 hit points. You could make some sort of horrible deck with Yveltal EX, but with Monkey Dory and Wallies and Jumbo Ice Cream everywhere, keeping everyone in range is far too unlikely. Giving us 30 new Pikachu cards in 30th Celebration and 0 Raichu is wild, especially when we only have 2 Raichu currently in Standard, just one of which has a modicum of playability. So until a potential Mega Raichu X and Y, none of the Pikachu are worth getting. From a competitive standpoint though, the best is number 33, aka Keep Hidden Pikachu. While it only has 60 hit points, the ability protects it from damage and effects of attacks while on the bench. This means it's safe from things like Kyurem and Terra Greninja, as well as the 6 damage counters from Dragapult's Phantom Dive. 2 other Pikachu to at least Entertain or Lightning Crash, which snipes 90 damage for 3 lightning. Losing them all sucks, but Electric can power it up. Angry Bolt Pikachu all depends on Mega Raichu, and whether we get a Spiritual Relicanth reprint. We know Mega Raichu isn't happening this year, while Relicanth rotates in March. So doing 10 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on Pikachu really only matters if a Mega Raichu can copy it. If that never happens, we'll keep this one hidden. More Raichu-dependent Pikachu include Energize, Tail, and Store Up. Both find energy and put them into your hand, which could be useful depending on Raichu's attacks and costs. Charge Up Dash would be good to accelerate energy, but with 60 hit points it's getting knocked out next turn. And Agility fully protects Pikachu, but you have to flip heads. Pikachain Pikachu could be funny since it is possible to get 8 of them in play, dealing 320 damage. It's just far too impractical. And fighting Lightning only dealing 100 damage solely to EXs for 3 energy is a bit much. Iron Tail meanwhile is another coin flip, making it too unreliable. I know they're out of order like a Taco Bell bathroom after I eat their lettuce, but the rest of the Pikachu can all be ignored. Hell, 29 of the 30 Pikachu can be ignored. For these 20 specifically though, they either have too few hit points where a Dusclops can one-shot them, an attack that doesn't help, or too big of a retreat cost. Finally, we come to the worst of the worst. As usual, I'll go in set order, starting with Volbeat. We already have a good Volbeat who benches 2 basics as early as turn 1 going first. Sure, when that Volbeat rotates early next year, we'll need this guy. But until then, it's useless. Just like the new Vivillon. Its ability is the exact same as Mamoswine EX's, except it requires a coin flip. Even if it didn't, I'm not sure people would choose to run it over Bug Catching Set. The worst part about Ninetales isn't its unplayability. It's that Ninetales is number 10 in the set list, not number 1. You literally had one job. Instead of doing the coolest thing possible, you decided it was a good idea to throw in a random freaking Vivillon for no reason. Like that time my ex-wife knocked over a bottle of foot lotion, I will never forgive them for this. Sticking with the Ninetales theme, I don't understand the point of Ho-Oh. It takes 2 fire, then discards both of them to heal all damage from a bench Pokemon. Except we just got a Ninetales who moves all damage counters from a bench Pokemon to their active for a single fire, which is far stronger. Maybe if the format slows down next year, healing with an attack could be a good thing, especially on a beefy Mega. Except even then, Ninetales is better. This marks our 4th Victini in Standard, and it's the worst. There's better Pokemon Gitterers for a fire deck, and there's better 2-energy attackers. Slowpoke is unnecessary despite the amazing name of Well Hidden. Get it? Because it's hiding in a well so Team Rocket doesn't chop off its tail and eat it? Anyway, Slowking wants telepathic energy to find its Psychic Slowpoke. This is a Water-type Slowpoke. We already have a couple options for grabbing a supporter from deck, while Dedenne can get any trainer from the discard pile. Lapras isn't bad overall, it's just unnecessary right now like nipples on a Nuzleaf. For the Cantonian birds, I think they want us to make an Illumise deck with 3 different types of energy hitting for triple weakness. I just don't see it working. Unlike the Genie deck coming in Delta Rain where they can attack for as little as 0 energy, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno require at least 3 energy to attack. Even with their abilities accelerating energy each turn, it's simply way too much for too little. Zapdos is the best of the bunch, dealing 210 damage, but Thundering Lightning requires 4 energy. So I say ignore them for now. And not just because they for some reason gave Moltres Fiery Flapping, Articuno Frosty Flapping, and Zapdos Flash Pot Flapping instead of Frenzy Flapping or something that ends in Y like they set up. 30th Celebration Zeraora is a card that truly encapsulates everything wrong with the set. Why would I, a sophisticated Lightning deck user, remove Stunfisk to deal 20 damage and draw a card? Pouncing Trap dealing 30 damage and trapping them in the active while also boosting damage by 100 next turn is leaps and bounds ahead of this kitty cat who has 0 aura. If you really want to hate this set, look no further than Toxtricity. In a set with 30 Pikachu and 0 Raichu, they gave us 2 Toxtricity. The Mach Bolt one is complete garbage, and the other guy who can one-shot Mega Rayquaza is unable to do anything the following turn. You're probably trying to come up with a way to make this Morpeko work. After all, discarding 2 cards could help out Hide and Sneak, but Hide and Sneak does just fine without it. And we already have a Morpeko who's kinda similar, except it's an ability, not an attack. I was going to put Miraidon in the midsection, but then for the first time ever I did some research. 140 damage is enough to one-shot Mega Ray through weakness. However, it takes 3 energy and loses 2 in the process. There's several other better lightning types, making this a waste of shiny cardboard. Even if you force a Dragapult to have 3 energy with Nighttime Mine, and you have Lily's Clefairy down, Mew still can't take a one-shot. It just doesn't do enough to justify its place in any deck, especially when it gets destroyed by Phantom Dive. Elsewhere, we don't even get a new Drifblim out of this deal, so why Drifloon exists, I don't know. The new Azumarill doesn't even come close to the old one, who can deal 230 damage for a single Psychic. And not even the new Marill is doing anything to unseat the one from Ascended Heroes. Cresselia and Comfey are the definition of pack fillers, meaning they'll go straight to your bulk drawer next to the bottle of foot lotion that gave you a rash. I can't quite bring myself to put Groudon in the mid-tier. 5 fighting to deal 250 damage is just too much, even if it didn't hurt your bench for 20. We already have a basic fighter that requires 5 fighting in Mega Zygarde who doesn't see a ton of play. And if Mega Lucario wants a backup attacker who can deal over 200 damage, it's Harry Mama, not Groudon. As for Lycanroc, there's no world where this is playable. It has to have survived a hit for counter to do anything, yet at 130 hit points, it's not going to. The Koraidon we just got in Pitch Black is better than the one from 30th Celebration, making this useless. If you're wondering why we're getting a Nidoran female and a Nidorina but no Nidoqueen, it's because the Pokemon Company is weird. I mean, they are the ones who gave Bonsai a butthole. While that Galarian Meowth could maybe do something, the other 2 Meowth in 30th Celebration won't. Not only does Alolan Meowth suck, there's not even an Alolan Persian in Standard. And while we do have a regular Persian, no one's swiping right on this furry. We're getting a new Murkrow and Scraggy, yet Honchkrow and Scrafty are missing. Yes, Team Rocket's Honchkrow is a good deck, but this Murkrow can't evolve into it. The only Honchkrow we actually have is this dumb thing. For Scraggy, there is a Mega Scrafty that is not good. Even if it was, 30th Celebration Scraggy has 80 hit points, whereas there's already a 70 hit point one that can be poffined. Still, forcing them to shuffle draw 4 could do something 1 out of every 6 or 7 games. We currently have a Toedscruel that reduces your Active's retreat cost by 2 pips. The fact that no one uses it should tell you how playable Zoroark with the exact same ability will be. There's no space for Dialga in Standard. While I understand that Super Rod doesn't exist right now, that's all its first attack is. And Heavy Impact only does 110 damage. Ferrothorn, meanwhile, knocks itself out to spread 50 damage. I don't think I have to explain why that's horrible. More legendaries they put less effort into than the trees in Sword and Shield, Zacian and Zamazenta belong in the doghouse. If you're playing a basic metal legendary in your Metang deck to deal with Crustle, it's the old Dialga, not either of these cards. Then there's Golden Go. It's probably the most 30th Celebration coded card. Except like that time I had a dream where everyone wore socks, they got scared. You have to have exactly 30 cards in hand to take 2 prizes. And if you do, your entire hand gets shuffled into your deck. Sure, maybe Alakazam could find a use for it. But 16 cards in hand is a one-shot on Dragapult. I know that math is tough unless you're on the train and can ask other people to use their toes for counting, but 16 is a lot less than 30. Plus, we're not too far removed from 35 cards in hand literally winning you the entire freaking game. Yeah, Golden Go is not worth celebrating. Same with Kangaskhan and Snorlax. Rage is a fairly useless mechanic on single prizers since they don't have enough hit points. It's the same reason why Snorlax won't see play either. Yes, healing all damage is good, except you have to stay asleep, which is a coin flip, and even then 160 HP isn't doing you any favors. When I say there's 125 new cards in 30th Celebration, that's technically not correct, because while there are 3 EV, 2 of them are the exact same. Despite them all having the magical 70 hit points, both of the older 50 HP EV and Standard are better. One evolves right away with its ability, the other with its attack. When every EV rotates in March though, Fetch and Hide will be our #1 choice, removing an item from their hand. But at that point, Evolution decks probably won't be doing much. Last and least, Minior is just Cramorant from Twilight Masquerade, except it doesn't hit for any weakness, has less hit points, and its retreat cost is 1 pip higher. Even though every card in 30th Celebration is a holo, non-EX cards only exist in common or rare rarity. Yeah, uncommons do not exist here. So we should be able to craft these 10 Pokemon for either 40 credits or 400 or 600 for the EXs. And those new Ultra Ball Pokepad and Switch Arts are all commons, meaning everyone will be using them. Overall, in total, you should set aside about 3,000 credits to acquire every single worthwhile card in 30th Celebration. Which is pathetic when, back in my day, I was telling people to save 30 to 40,000. This is also a great time to talk about credit farming. No, 30th Celebration will not replace Celebrations as the best way to earn credits in TCG Live. 30th Celebration has 100 more cards and many are commons, making it a horrible set to spend trainer points on. Just keep buying Celebrations and pay 30th Celebration no mind. Since I know everyone will get mad if I don't include them, here's a look at all the hyper rares in 30th Celebration compiled by Koala from Elite Forums. There's 30 in total, not including the RGB Mew that the internet argued over regarding its realness. We start with the regular illustration rares, where Lapras, Drifloon, Lycanroc, 2 of the Meowth, but not Galarian Meowth for some reason, and Hisui and Zorua were all shown off in all their glory. Beginning with Fuecoco EX, there's the special illustration rares, with that Mew EX likely to be a top 5 most expensive card in the set. So if you pull it in a $10 pack, sell it for a profit, which is what the Pokemon TCG is apparently made for these days. Finally, we have the futuristic rare arts from Mewtwo and Mew EX, which we've known about for months. As a minimum rarity Rapscallion though, none of these cards get me excited like finding a long-lost episode of Golden Girls where they go to the beach. What you have to remember about the Classic Collection is that none of these cards are standard legal. However, if the card is still legal and expanded, they can be used there, which only applies to those from N onwards, since expanded is black and white base set to our most recent set, despite what Pokemon TCG Live might say. None of these cards should be a surprise, as we already knew the Classic Collection set list months ago thanks to a leak by the Pokemon Company themselves. I should also mention that if you're looking for some of those amazing promo arcs, they're only going to be available in products released between September 16th and November 6th. Finding them on store shelves will be next to impossible, so get ready to pay massive markups if you want them. And that'll do it. Even though we're still a month away from launch, you now know every card coming in 30th Celebration and just how bad 90% of them will be from a competitive standpoint.